It's interesting how all the mighty have fallen, and the only one that remains is Darth Sidious in the end to become the Emperor of the Galaxy. You see, as much as Emperor Vitiate or Darth Revan, Darth Bane, all these ancient Sith Lords were powerful, they did not come to the peak apex power that Sidious achieved. Not only in his supreme skills, as we see, he easily can defeat Darth Vader, but the sheer amount of power he gained towards his journey is really something to behold. So now we need to kind of understand the thought process of Emperor Palpatine and what he thought about his old colleagues, the ancient Sith. More specifically, we're going to talk about a little bit about Darth Revan, the prisoner of Vitiate at one point in time, and of course the ultimate baddie that really kind of rivals Sidious to Emperor Vitiate. So what Darth Sidious thought of Emperor Vitiate as well. Let's start with Darth Revan though. Even after more than a millennia had gone by, the rich knowledge that Darth Revan passed on was studied not only by Darth Bane, but even the last of the Sith, which was Sidious and Vader. In today's video, more specifically, through Star Wars lore, we get introduced to how Sidious viewed Revan and what was their connection ultimately. There is a reason why Revan is always mentioned and connected to these Sith. For some reason, I was never able to forget the legendary adventures I had playing KOTOR a decade ago as a kid, and to this day I try to find connections between modern Sith and the ancient Sith, such as Revan. Well, that's what the video is about, as today we get the best connection ever, as I love both of these characters, talking about how Sidious studied and was inspired by Revan's knowledge and work millennia later. So let's start way back, more than 3,000 years ago. The dark side journey for Revan started when he and his forces gradually pushed back the Mandalorians, saving countless worlds at the price of devastating moral compromises and the embrace of dark side practices. This, of course, was completely rejected by the Jedi Council, and it's during that time that the relationship between the Jedi and Revan started to dissipate. And after Revan and Malak went to investigate a dark presence in the unknown regions, now nothing was going to be the same again, as Darth Vitiate turned and manipulated both the Jedi into prominent Sith Lords. Here's the crazy part, where it's not talked about a lot. You see, around this time is when Revan constructed his Sith holocron. It contained Revan's teachings on the dark side of the Force and his knowledge of ancient Sith rituals. It included instructions on how to use the Force power known as the Thought Bomb, and the lessons from the holocron focused on the user coveting the dark side and the importance of a Sith Master training one apprentice at a time. Sounds familiar? Well, stay put, more on that later. Now, following Darth Revan's redemption and the end of the Jedi Civil War, the Sith holocron remained hidden within the Temple of the Ancients on the planet Rakata Prime. This is the beautiful part, my guys. 3 millennia later, the Sith Lord Darth Bane rediscovered Darth Revan's holocron inside the Rakata Temple and extensively studied the teachings contained inside. Bane copied the holocron's content as much as he could, and once the device stopped functioning, Bane destroyed the artifact. With this knowledge, Bane went on to destroy the Sith regime at the time, creating his own Sith Order using the teachings from Darth Revan's holocron, and as you guessed, created the Rule of Two, which was completely inspired by Revan's teachings. Bane later transcribed Darth Revan's knowledge into the Telos holocron, and as destiny would have it, a millennia later, this Telos holocron, which held original work from Revan himself, was eventually studied by the Sith Lord and Emperor of the Galaxy, Darth Sidious. You see, the holocron was passed down through generations of Sith Lords after its creation, many of whom transferred their own knowledge within this device. At the end, this device was kept by Sidious as a precious historical artifact, having been inspired by the original creator of the Rule of Two, Darth Revan. Sidious took a lot from all Sith, but I can imagine that he held Revan into a category of his own, considering he started all of this. He started the Rule of Two, and not to mention the fact that Sidious benefited from the Rule of Two immensely. I mean, how else could he have become an emperor, a sole ruler? He used singular apprentices to get to the top. He couldn't have done so with the original barbaric Sith traditions. As a remembrance of Darth Revan, this is what Sidious said in the holocron device. All that we know, we shall share freely with you. All we ask in return is that you keep an open mind and use this knowledge for the benefit of only one being, yourself. It is not out of greed that we ask this of you, but out of respect. Of all those who might have stumbled upon this device, no one is more deserving of our knowledge than you. This shows that Sidious was very wary of his predecessors, especially Revan, and when talking about knowledge, he constantly referred back to we the Sith and our knowledge. This focus and respect of Sith knowledge is what probably led to Sidious becoming the most powerful man in the galaxy. We will reveal some thoughts and writings that Sidious had accumulated during his time as a Sith, and especially in his elder years when he eventually became a senator and supreme chancellor. In the end, when he became an emperor of his newly formed empire, he abandoned the persona of a nice elderly man and adopted his original stance and appearance as Sidious. What is mostly known though about Sidious is that he was a big collector, especially of knowledge, ancient knowledge. This task proved to be extremely hard, simply because when the ancients fell, their knowledge vanished with them forever, or so it seemed at times. Over the years, these writings were passed among numerous Sith and at times even Jedi. In his quest for domination, Darth Sidious tracked down what remained of 5 pivotal Sith texts written by his most powerful predecessors. He then started drawing knowledge within the compiled pages. He actually wrote his own manifesto. Together, these documents, along with several collected objects associated with them, shed light on the philosophy, achievements, and failures of the Sith Order. One of these texts came from Darth Bane himself, who wrote about Darth Malgus in the book Rule of Two. The Sith Lord Darth Sidious eventually obtained some surviving excerpts of Malgus's journals from an antiquities dealer and bound them into his Book of Sith, an anthology of the Sith historical writings. While reading, Sidious found Malgus's military abilities and strength in the dark side impressive, and his apprentice Darth Vader later studied Malgus's writings and spotted a degree of similarity between himself and the ancient Sith Lord. Now, along with Malgus, Vitiate was seen as being perhaps one of the most powerful Sith Lords in history in terms of his sheer strength, might, and influence. It is even noted that Plagueis mentioned and talked a lot about Vitiate, and one would assume that a lot was revealed to his apprentice, Darth Sidious. In fact, Sidious would have grown hearing a lot about the mighty and pragmatic Sith Emperor Vitiate. It stands to reason that if Palpatine was to mention Vitiate or even think of him in such high regards, perhaps he was influenced by him as well. This can clearly be seen by Palpatine's way of logic. He is extremely pragmatic to the point where nothing can escape him, and his designs would always come to pass in one way or another. He was meticulous, same as the ancient Sith Emperor, known to many as Valkorion, but to the Sith especially as Vitiate. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a thumbs up down below, subscribe for dailies. Now you have an awesome day, Star Wars fans. I'll see you in the next video, and may the Force be with you. Until then.